Well, good afternoon and welcome to the June 6th edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho.
June 6th?
June 3rd, I thought I said.
Yeah, no.
Fuck it. June 6th. Does it really matter anyway? I run it all week. It's June 3rd. I'm James.
I'm Jeremy Ball.
The reason we're here back in Marty's dungeon is because we wanted to find a backdrop that was suitably gray and depressing. But nothing can take away the glow of my Kings being 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup.
Congratulations, it only took them forever.
I'm duly aware of that. That's the reality.
Did they have Gretzky?
Yes, they did. They had the Babe Ruth of hockey and could only reach the finals once. Don't get me started on Marty McSorley.
Yzerman!
He was not playing either.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm a Red Wings fan. I'm just shouting out Yzerman.
All the dirty jokes that are going on in my head about you and Red Wings. But seriously, folks, we're going to talk about a topic that you haven't heard too much about over the last couple of weeks. And in my opinion, it really should be a national story, one that in today's media would be driven into the ground by now, even though the event is still a few days away. I'll Have Another is in position to end a 34-year drought in horse racing's biggest spectacle, winning the Triple Crown. And nobody's talking about it. This should be on the cover of every major national sports magazine. It's not. And there's reasons that we're going to get into that we believe has led to the downfall, not the extinction, but very troubled times for the sport of Kings. This should be a good story for a number of reasons, and I'll give this as the backdrop before we go into this. First of all, I'll Have Another was originally sold a few months ago. This is the first time the horse was sold for $11,000. That horse was sold for less than the market value of my car, and I have duct tape on the trunk. Yeah, exactly. In addition to that, what we're looking at is it's a 34-year drought. An entire generation of Americans are now approaching middle age without having seen a Triple Crown winner in their lives. The last one was affirmed when the firm won the Belmont in 1978. That also was probably the salad days of horse racing because 3 horses won the Triple Crown in 6 years. Now, there have been a couple of horses that had a chance to win the Triple Crown in the last 15 years. One, unfortunately, broke a leg, ending the horse's career. The horse is being trained by a guy named Doug O'Neill, who has been suspended 14 times in 14 years for drug issues. Drugs in the horses. I don't know if he's been shooting himself up as well.
Horse tranquilizers.
Exactly. So, I'm not a big horse racing guy, but I can appreciate athletic excellence. Do you care?
No, because here's the problem. They're not athletes. A horse is not an athlete. It doesn't know it's competing. How can you call it? Like they had, what was it, Secretariat as one of the greatest athletes of all time? He's not an athlete. He's an animal. Is he getting a paycheck? No, he's getting paid in oats. It's not a sport.
Well, I'm not necessarily. I'm trying to come at this with an open mind. I tend to think more of what I tend to go along more with what you just ranted about. But you also work with a guy who used to be a jockey.
Yes.
Is he an athlete?
No, he is not. He is a former jockey. He was injured while riding a horse and blinded in his left eye. Don't get me wrong, it takes strength and endurance to be able to move an animal. That doesn't make you an athlete.
If you're training for a sport, and I'm assuming, look, you see somebody who's not necessarily a short dude who probably couldn't shoot a hoop or whatever. I see an aerobic machine in a human body with strong abs, triceps, and obviously thighs to steer, control a wild animal.
If you're looking at it that way, maybe.
And it is a professional.
Maybe the jockeys are athletes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I might have to acquiesce on one.
I've just asked. It's devil's advocate.
Because there's the sad thing of I know about the diuretics being used in jockeying. People basically starving themselves to get underweight just to ride a horse. So some of these guys that are 4'8", 4'9", starve themselves to get down to 100 pounds just to get on a horse and move the horse around. So you got a 98-pound weakling on a 1,100-pound animal moving it all over the place, which takes strength, I admit. That doesn't make you an athlete, because you can do the same thing in your car, and NASCAR isn't a sport.
You are, however, a gambling addict.
I'm a gambling aficionado since I don't gamble as much anymore. You got to be able to purchase your drug to be an addict at something. Well, I'm broke.
Okay. Well, with that said, though, if you do not qualify as a gambling addict, you certainly know a lot of them.
Yes.
Has any of them been anticipating the race this weekend?
Most certainly. For instance,
okay, Rich, come on in.
There's been quite a few people that are actually anticipating this. You have people that they want to place bets on I'll have another. They want to.
What would you call if you were to put this on the big pie chart of caring in terms of athletics or sports or even sports wagering, what sort of a percentage are we talking about here?
It's about...
This should be a major story.
50% NBA, 10% hockey, maybe 40% for the Triple Crown.
I actually argue in terms of horse racing versus hockey. I'd be inclined to flip it, but I'll get to my point with this in a few moments. In your arrogant little opinion, trust me.
My opinion is minuscule, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Could you? What is your opinion? Why is this sport not nearly as popular as it probably should be?
I think mainly because people have come to terms with the fact that it is animal abuse. In the purest sense. I've heard stories of like Michael Vick got put away for basically killing dogs, right?
Okay.
Now, worse happens to horses if they lose. They at least don't get turned to glue. Dogs don't get turned to glue and then put on construction paper so kids can put fucking sprinkles all over it. Hey, I made a picture, mommy. They don't get turned into dog food so dogs can fight better.
I'm not so sure about that opinion, and I'll tell you why.
Please be my guest.
Because people, look, there are always going to be the extreme activist types, and I will totally acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
However, people who love animals, the ordinary type of person who loves animals, and loves horses,
mm-hmm.
loves riding horses.
True.
And they understand that as part of the horse lifestyle, whether it be racing horses,
mm-hmm.
whether it be equestrian, whether you're jumping over these things, over those objects, whether it's rodeo, they understand that in riding your horse that there are risks that are inherent to it, including death from broken legs and whatnot.
Yeah, if you fight a dog and the dog breaks its leg, you can actually get the leg fixed. But if a horse breaks its leg, they kill the horse.
Do you think we're too snooty because of the fact that it's a so-called sport of kings, or maybe we just love betting and that's the primary reason?
It's the betting. Like, if the sport of kings, the true sport of kings, is fox hunting. And people don't do that here. It's inhumane. Meanwhile, they go hunting for deer. So it's a bunch of hypocrisy. If you can't place a bet on it, people won't allow it. And people love dogs, so that's why dog fighting is illegal.
Well, here's my take on this, and if you disagree, feel free to jump in. I have a different take on why sports racing has been getting kicked in the teeth. Therefore, as a young adult, for a while, the idea of being a champion is to go for it all. If you're not the type of person or athletic team or whatever that's going to go for it all, you lose. People inherently lose respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since the Triple Crown is the biggest thing in horse racing, there was a stretch of about 10 to 15 years in the 80s and early to mid 90s,
right,
where the horse that won the Kentucky Derby was automatically pulled out of the Preakness. for the highest bidder. Literally, like, put it all, we won the Kentucky Derby, let's put the doggone thing on show and just parade the horse in every track we can and get as much money as possible. And so my take on it is that when you don't care for your sport, the sport suffers because they don't care about being a champion. The NBA had a dark period post-Jordan. Why? Because you could respect the athletic ability of an Allen Iverson or certain other athletes. You didn't like them as people, okay? Even Kobe, Shaq, the drama between Kobe and Shaquille, you simply didn't like it. And so there was this era after Jordan where it was like, I just can't be down. I mean, hockey could never survive an era of me first.
Yeah.
It just couldn't. Why was NASCAR able to survive so long?
And it's currently in a me first right now. That's the problem with hockey.
I'm not so sure about that, but we'll talk about that at another time.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this: why was NASCAR surviving for so long before it finally blew up 3 or 4 years ago? Is it not because even if you don't respect the competition, everybody who met a NASCAR driver said, "God, that was a great guy." And so, because you lost respect for the competition involved that's inherent in horse racing, I'm thinking that that's the reason why it's not popular now.
The main issue, I think, with horse racing is that it's pure, like at the purest level, that's class. It has to do with classism. It's like nobody that's poor goes to a horse race. Like the Preakness.
Well, not the Triple Crown. I mean, you'll see slugs over.
Yeah, but you can't get into a horse racing without a bill full of thousands of dollars.
That would be true.
I mean, so it's like I remember growing up, and my dad would turn it on TV and like, look at these crazy motherfuckers, and then he'd turn the TV again. Like nobody wants. Poor people that can't afford to go to a race, like a horse race, end up going to the Greyhounds or racing the dogs or going to see Robinson's racing pigs at the fair. You know, watching the pigs go around the circle. So it's a matter of, like, what are you willing to accept as your sport? And rich people like horse racing. Poor people like basketball.
I think not sure I agree. But with that said, tell them what's on your mind, dude.
What's on my mind is, I know we've talked about this man before, but it's brand new news. Tiger Woods won his 73rd PGA Tour tournament today. All right, Tiger Woods, you're still not an athlete. You're still not an athlete, and it's still not a sport. Please stop putting this bullshit on TV. I don't give a fuck. I lift weights. It doesn't matter. You're not an athlete. I could whoop your ass. All right? I don't care how many bitches he's had sex with. You know, I don't care about your divorce. I don't care how long it took you to come back to win the fucking tournament. I don't care about anything to do with your life because you can't run, jump, or fucking carry a football. All right? You don't play hockey. You stand there and you hit a ball into a hole in the ground. You're not an athlete. It's not a sport. I don't care how much they push it. I don't care anything. It takes concentration. You can so take this shit. It doesn't mean that. I've said this many a time before. It's not a sport. Please stop. And let's just put out a sex tape. I don't give a fuck about what Tiger Woods is. Does the Tiger Woods sex tape exist? He fucked a porno star, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a sex tape. The only thing I want to hear about Tiger Woods is the sex tape. I don't give a fuck about anything else. Not a sport. I'm done.
Guys, look, when I was a nubile young sports writer with hopes, dreams, and venom coursing through my veins, every so often I would get sent over to the Fabulous Forum to cover the Los Angeles Lakers. And when you go to the Forum to cover the Lakers, you would get courtside, which that kind of shows you the standing with which the Lakers thought of the press. We didn't sit next to Jack. We didn't sit next to Diane Cannon. No, we were positioned under one of the hoops. Chick Hearn was halfway up. We weren't good enough to sit next to the stars. We weren't good enough to sit next to Chick. Okay, we're social lepers. I get it. But it was still exhilarating to be under the basket because for half the game you would see the Showtime Lakers in their prime running fast breaks towards you at top speed. And that was very cool. Watching, you know, I know you don't like Magic, but watching a guy lead the break with the touch of a virtuoso, it was a wonderful thing. Well, anyway, one night I'm out there and I'm positioned under the hoop and I'm pounding away on this handy, it's a laptop computer, but that's only because there wasn't really, nobody thought to call it what it really was. It was a word processor. It was an abacus compared. Well, anyway, in the third quarter, I'm typing away and I'm not really paying attention. And then my peripheral vision, the ball zooms right past me. And then in a moment later, I just managed to look up and see Orlando Woolridge going free willy right over me. Just a sea of gold and purple and
black.
And I bring this up because Orlando Woolridge died last week at the age of 52, and I never really hung out with the guy. I didn't hang out with any of the athletes because, as previously established, I wasn't nearly cool enough. But with that said, I want to thank Orlando Woolridge for being as athletic as he was in the NBA, because he didn't drag his crank up my face like he probably could have. I respect you, Orlando Woolridge, as you go into the great bench jockeydom in the sky, the great 7th, 8th man off the benchdom. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how much my life would have been changed, because it was changed enough as it was, okay? I had to look up on the Diamond Vision screen and see 17,505 people pointing and laughing at me like, hey, there's a 7'8" black guy hurdling me. This is, what am I going to do now? Laker girls are sitting next to me pointing and laughing, and granted that was embarrassing enough, but I can't begin to tell you how amazingly bad my life would have been if this didn't remain a penis-free environment. I don't want this to be a penis-full environment. Okay? No disrespect to anybody whose is a penis-full environment.
Penis tolerance.
Penis tolerance, yeah. My penis tolerance is down there. If it registers at all. I mean, God, think of all the questions. If, God forbid, what would have happened if you didn't have such a vertical leap? I would have hated to have developed these strange feelings, asking myself, what is it about these power forwards? What are these strange feelings I'm having for Eldon Campbell? For Pig Miller? Yes. But that didn't come about because of Orlando Woolridge.
Averaged 22 points a game in Michael Jordan's rookie year for Chicago.
You look out for me, Orlando.